I'm a shallow, status-chasing beta, pretending to be a delicate Omega-rich kid, and I tricked a powerful alpha prince into falling for me. When the truth came out, I failed to run away, and ended up carrying his child. 1. After being locked up and disciplined for months, I've really learned my lesson. Today Forrest finally let me out, but then I overheard his buddies mocking me, saying they had no idea what tricks I used to climb up to him. They even said Forrest was only keeping me around to get back at me. Just as we reached the door, Forrest's phone rang. He glanced at me, then stepped aside to take the call. Wait for me a minute. I nodded obediently. I wouldn't dare run anymore, so I decided to wait at the entrance. But then, just my luck, I heard a group of alphas laughing inside. Forrest is serious about this? Why'd he bring that kind of nobody to a dinner like this? I heard Forrest got played badly before, almost couldn't recover from it. He probably still has feelings, so don't run your mouths later. Who's running their mouth? That little nobody. Does he really think Forrest would fall for some fake fragile Omega act? It's just for fun. Forrest's family would never accept some beta slacker. I've seen him once. Sure, he's got that clean, boyish look, kind of handsome, but nothing special. No idea what trick he used to hook Forrest. TSK. I shoved the door open. They all froze the moment I walked in. Before anyone could speak, the one who claimed to know me blurted out in surprise, "Gavin?" The other two looked at him, and he lowered his voice to explain, "The one Forrest brought." Realizing what they just said, the group immediately glanced behind me. Not seeing Forrest, they sighed in relief. Then they swept their eyes over me from head to toe, back up again, finally resting on my face. Red lips, white teeth, sharp brows, clear bright eyes. I really did look pure as snow. No wonder Forrest wanted me. They were Forrest's childhood friends, who met up every now and then. This time, none of them expected he'd actually bring someone along. They were gossiping only because they knew a bit of the story and couldn't stand the sight of me. "Oh, so it's him. A stylish guy with dyed red hair," sneered. "Where's he now?" Ignoring their stares, I strolled over and casually picked a seat. Forrest stepped out to take a call. I looked up, smiled harmlessly at the redhead whose disgust was obvious, eyes curving into crescents. "I just came in first. Hope I'm not disturbing you guys." The group exchanged subtle looks. Once I sat down, I kept my gaze fixed on the redhead, speaking softly, politely. After just a few lines, his face was flushed red. "Ha! Good looks are a weapon." Even if these arrogant alphas didn't like me, they couldn't resist softening toward my friendliness. Besides, I was Forrest's partner. That alone raised my standing in their eyes. And when Forrest's lover showed them kindness, it stroked their egos perfectly. That alpha who'd been badmouthing me earlier now sat there with red ears, watching me intently, hanging on to my every word. I curved my brows in a smile, even tilting my face just right so that even my side profile looked flawless. Just as I was about to drop the act, a glance from the corner of my eye froze me in place. A cold, frosty face stared back at me. My heart sank with a heavy thud. Crap, I'm done for. I had just pulled out my phone, about to add the redhead's contact, when I locked eyes with Forrest's icy gaze as he walked back in. My hand trembled, and the phone slipped from my fingers, clattering to the floor. On the glowing screen was a photo of Forrest kissing the corner of my lips, hard. His friends caught sight of it too, and the shock instantly hit them. When they turned back around, they met Forrest's sinister, bone-chilling expression, like they had just fallen into an ice pit. For a moment, the whole room went silent. Forrest suddenly smiled, walked over, sat down beside me, bent to pick up my phone, and placed it in my hand. His eyes stayed fixed on my face, warm and steady. "What were you talking about? You all looked so happy." My scalp tingled. This wasn't him at all. Outside, he could act polished and gentle, but deep down, he was moody, unpredictable, a little unhinged. I knew better than to upset him. Otherwise, things could get ugly. My throat bobbed as I stammered, We were talking about you. I just wanted to know more about you." Is that not allowed?" Unlike the bright confidence I'd shown earlier, now I looked small, pitiful, and innocent. Forrest's lips curved into another smile. Back at the villa, he grabbed my wrist and dragged me into the bedroom. The housekeeper and staff looked on with worried faces. Forrest's expression was ice cold. I stumbled along, struggling hard. Let go, you're hurting me." He hauled me upstairs and threw me onto the bed. "What? Already looking for a new man before I'm even gone?" I scrambled up, eyes red but defiant. "Yeah, so what? You treat me like dirt, you don't even like me anymore, why can't I look for someone else? I'm trash, I've got no morals, I could even go after one of your buddies. What of it? If you've got the guts, hit me, go on." I shut my eyes, head tilted back, jaw clenched, waiting for the blow. And it came, but only a light slap across my face. Still, my mouth quivered, and I snapped my eyes open, breaking down in sobs. Tears spilled down like strings of pearls. Forrest always thought I was made of water, but he also knew my words were full of lies. Furious, he pulled out a syringe of beta suppressor serum, grabbed me, and pressed the needle against my useless gland. My throat seized up, I forgot how to cry. My body shook violently. Every time he injected me with this stuff, I'd break down, reduced to a desperate, whimpering mess, craving his pheromones like an Omega without pride. Baby, I felt the sting at my neck and rushed to placate him. I know I was wrong, okay? It's just, they said I wasn't good enough for you. That made me upset. Of course I know I'm not worthy of you, I'm shameless, but please don't scare me, please, I'm afraid. Forrest's eyes narrowed dangerously. Who said that? I bit my lip, unwilling, but finally caved with a weak voice. Your friends. They looked down on me, said you were only playing around. I know, but you're my husband. What they say doesn't matter. This time, the disdain on my face wasn't an act. His hand at my neck loosened. My knees went weak and I clutched at his shirt, meeting the storm in his dark gaze. Without a word, Forrest shoved me back onto the bed. I kicked and wailed. He pinned my waist, eyes burning red, his pheromones thick enough to choke me. Gavin, stop with your little tricks. I know you too well. You're always lying to me. I'm not. I swear I'm not. Tears blurred my vision as I shook my head. That night, I woke up with swollen eyes. Even during dinner, I couldn't stop sniffling. Forrest snapped, annoyed. Why are you crying again? You think a few tears are gonna make me soft? I glared at him, choking out, and my stomach hurts. So what if I cry a little? For real? Is it that bad? You're acting delicate again. His voice was cold. My face flushed crimson at that. 3. See, in the beginning, I had been pretending to be a spoiled Omega from a rich family. I was good at acting, whining and whimpering over nothing. The first time we were together, I cried before we even got our clothes off, acting so over the top it was ridiculous. Back then, Forrest cherished me. He coaxed me without complaint. I thought nothing of it, just figured it was normal for alphas to act that way at the start. But Forrest was different. His act was flawless. Gentle, refined, noble. And me, I've always been shallow. His looks alone made my heart race. Too bad I wasn't some young master. I only got close to him for 100,000 credits. Thinking back, it's pathetic how easily I got Forrest's love, cheap and undeserved. 100,000, just his pocket change. I sighed. I don't even know how I managed to spend it all without guilt back then. It really does hurt, I muttered, biting my lip. Forget it if you don't believe me. The truth was, not everything was an act. I really did hate pain. When I tried to run away before, Forrest caught me and kept me in bed for a whole month. The constant strain left me feeling like I'd been beaten daily. I survived on sheer willpower. Now life was a little easier, but I still had to speak up, otherwise, he'd think I could take whatever he threw at me. Forrest didn't say anything, just kept his face dark. After dinner, I slipped out to the courtyard and snapped a photo. I added a smug selfie and posted it, visible only to him. Look at the flowers my husband planted for me, hehe. I didn't think it was cheesy at all, it actually made me laugh. Ha ha ha. Alphas, you just have to stroke their egos. Clumsy or not, as long as he knew I was trying to please him, it worked. Soon, the housekeeper draped a blanket over my shoulders. Gavin, sir is in the study. He'd like some coffee. I carried the cup upstairs. When I entered, Forrest had just finished a call. His expression was stormy, his eyes sharp and cold as they flicked to me. What are you doing here? His harsh tone stung, souring my chest. Still, I blamed it on his mood swings. He used to spoil me so much, but I didn't regret running. Not at all. I crossed the room, plopped onto his lap, and wrapped my arms around his neck. What's wrong, baby? He circled my waist, his palm moving along my spine. I'd lost some weight, the past weeks had worn me down. Even my face looked thinner. For you, of course. He suddenly chuckled. Didn't you say they badmouthed you? I'm just taking care of it. I froze, panicked. That's not necessary. What if you can't handle them? Forrest. His sharp gaze softened instantly, like when we first met. Don't worry, just a little lesson. Happy now? I smiled on the surface, but inside, I scoffed. It's not like I was the one teaching them a lesson. What was there to be happy about? I puckered up and kissed him. Thanks, baby, but next time, don't be so mean to me, okay? I've got my flaws, sure, but that's just who I am. Those words came straight from my heart, but they made Forrest frown. Don't say nonsense like that. I grinned. Okay, Okay. That night, as usual, Forrest rested his hand on my stomach, long fingers pinching the soft flesh lightly. He didn't sleep or speak. I drifted off, half-conscious, humming softly. If there were a child, Forrest's voice paused. Forget it. You wouldn't like it. Liar. I never even heard him. 4. The next morning, Forrest had already left for the company, which meant I couldn't go anywhere today. The villa was equipped with top-tier security systems, and there were plenty of bodyguards inside. I had nowhere to go. But honestly, I didn't plan on going out anyway. Maybe when the day came that Forrest finally grew sick of me, I'd be free. Someone like him, a man born at the top, proud and untouchable, would end up with an Omega who truly matched him. And me, a beta with no pheromones, no family background, barely any education, a street rat not even worth mentioning. Forrest had probably only been interested in me at first because I was new and different, a little novelty. By now, he must look at me like a toy, watching me perform. Later, when I threw him aside and he found out I'd only been playing him, trying to drag his perfect image down, of course he'd be angry. Hurt pride always makes people angry. All those ups and downs just happened to hook his interest, nothing more. I picked up a bite of shredded fish with my chopsticks, stuffed it into my mouth until my cheeks puffed out. Eat more, I told myself. At least then I won't feel like I'm losing. After the meal, I went back to my room and lay down. Old memories started creeping back. A single tear slid from the corner of my eye, down the bridge of my nose, and it tickled. I'm a beta. Other than a decent-looking face, I have nothing. Back in college town, I worked odd jobs. Sometimes I even filled in for other people's classes. That was when a spoiled little Omega noticed my looks and asked me to seduce an alpha senior named Forrest. I'd heard the guy had rejected him multiple times, the last time harshly enough to humiliate that sweet little O. He wanted revenge. He saw my face, got impulsive, and because he had money to burn, offered me a deal: lure Forrest in and play with him, teach him a lesson. Of course, when it came to teaching Forrest a lesson, the only thing I can't deny is that, aside from his dominance and the lavish things he gave me, I started craving that alpha myself. Still, that sweet little O actually gave me 100,000 credits. That was more than I could earn in half a year of work. So, right away, I disguised myself as Forrest's preferred gender, an Omega, and bought a pheromone-inducing agent through a shady online channel. That stuff would temporarily make me pass as an Omega. The first time we met was on the court. I'd taken 50,000 star coins for the job, dressed in high-end knockoff clothes, sitting up in the stands. The place was roaring with cheers, but the name shouted the loudest was Forrest's. The sun that day was brutal. My face burned red, and my patience wore thin. My gaze drifted to the tall, athletic alpha on the court. This guy's build was outstanding, and his looks, among all the alphas, stood out so much that it was almost ridiculous. Anyone who glanced over couldn't help but lock eyes on him and let out a small gasp. Just like the Omegas sitting near me, screaming, "Forrest! Ah, Forrest is so handsome! Ah, Forrest!" Their shouts left my ears ringing. They were holding drinks in their hands. I guessed, like me, they'd fought for a front row seat just to hand him a bottle of water. I sneered inwardly. I wouldn't lose to them. So, when halftime came and the players stepped off the court, right as Forrest wiped his face with his jersey and revealed his toned abs, making everyone scream louder, I rushed forward. "Forrest!" I shouted, not the least bit shy. I charged so fast I couldn't stop myself. The players around him all let out a surprised, "Whoa." Forrest was the most stunned of all, watching a fair, delicate-looking Omega rush toward him, eyes shining, calling his name. Almost instinctively, he reached out to catch me. I slammed straight into his arms. Fresh off the court, his heartbeat was still racing, and now mine jumped even harder. He looked down at me, the noise around us suddenly dipping for a second before a collective gasp rose. "Are you okay?" His voice, warm and still slightly breathless from the game, was low and magnetic. I looked up into Forrest's smiling eyes, my Adam's apple bobbing. I caught the faint scent of clean soap, no sweat at all. He was so clean. I curved my eyes into a smile, steadied myself, and held out the bottle of water in my hand. "Here, senior, please have some water." I'd bought the cheapest brand, 1 coin a bottle, budget-friendly. He paused, long lashes casting shadows in the sun. My eyes roamed over him openly. He really was handsome. Deep, refined features, perfect skin. And more than that, his aura, not exactly gentle, maybe even a bit aloof, but still polite and composed. You could tell he was a gentleman. No wonder that Omega had gotten so furious. I understood now. Seeing someone so untouchable fall into desire must be thrilling. My lips curved higher. Seeing him hesitate, I said, "Shall I open it for you?" The noise of the crowd faded from my ears. All my focus was on Forrest. Maybe I really was trying to seduce him for real. My gaze on him felt like it was glowing, too earnest to be faked. He suddenly smiled and took the water from me. I blinked at him. "Since you're drinking my water, can I get your contact info?" "Don't worry, I won't bother you." Forrest raised his brows slightly and declined. "Sorry, I don't add strangers." I didn't give up. The second time we met was in one of his large lectures. I'd swapped seats with his roommate. "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Gavin." He just looked at me, not offended by my intrusion. The third time was at a bar. He'd drunk a bit too much, his pale skin tinted with a faint flush. I carried a drink another alpha had just offered me and walked over. "Excuse me," I said lightly. I slipped into their booth and sat straight down on Forrest's lap. "Holy," Forrest's classmates gasped. I looked at Forrest with a playful grin. "Oops, sorry, senior, I've had too much to drink." His moist eyes sharpened suddenly. I leaned closer. "Senior, would you take me to a hotel?" His hand, which had been hovering lightly at my waist, tightened. He stood and led me out of there. That night, with alcohol clouding everything, we crossed several lines. The next day, he really did give me his contact info, but I wasn't happy. I turned away from him, wiping my eyes quickly so he wouldn't notice, letting out a fake sob. "I'm not just some random Omega you can sleep with and toss aside, you jerk." I didn't see his expression, but his voice was soft and gentle. "I'm sorry." I spun around, throwing myself at him, cupping Forrest's face, and kissed him hard. "Who wants your sorry, jerk?" I bit his lip, smiling brightly with no tears left, pulled on my clothes, and left the hotel first. Honestly, I was just worried he'd ask to split the bill, or that it'd ruin the game of playing hard to get. Later, our relationship stayed in that gray area. He spent a lot of money on me. Making it official felt inevitable. What I hadn't expected was that someone who looked so sunny and gentle could be so possessive. Right after we got together, we moved in together. The place was Forrest's. His family was rich, richer than I could ever imagine. I lived on edge every day, scared he'd start asking too much about my background, like which school I went to, what university. I'd never gone to one. I wasn't the neighboring school student I'd pretended to be, or some wealthy Omega heir. I was just a beta who'd dropped out early, good for nothing. He often transferred money to me, generous as always. At first I spent it without guilt. He spoiled me so much that eventually I forgot to even act. So when he talked about marking me for life, I panicked. It hurt, really hurt. I'm a beta. How could I be marked for life? But Forrest's relentless affection left me both scared and thrilled. "Baby, don't you want us to be together forever?" Forrest asked softly. I felt annoyed. Forever? A lifetime? That was impossible for us. Not only had I lied to him first, but our status and worlds meant we'd never last. "I don't think that way." "Ugh, you're so annoying. My stomach hurts." His gaze darkened, and he pulled me into his arms, rubbing my stomach. "Baby, why are you so delicate?" I huffed, my face flushing pink, eyes watery as I glared at him. "It's obviously because you're too rough." His arm had lifted the hem of my shirt slightly, and I caught the shadow of something dark flicker in his eyes as they fell to my stomach. He quickly looked away and sighed helplessly. Forrest patiently cooed, "It's okay, don't be mad at me." I huffed again, lips curving upward. I loved how he'd soothe me unconditionally, but secretly, I felt anxious all the time, sulking over small things, threatening to break up. And every time, Forrest would patiently calm me down. I started having nightmares, dreams where Forrest abandoned me. The fall from hope was unbearable. When I woke, I'd irrationally lash out at him. Then I ran. I even returned the 100,000 star coins that Omega had given me. Painfully, I transferred it all back. Though I'd actually been using Forrest's money. But I only lasted 2 months before Forrest found me. Back then, he wasn't as cold and impatient with me as he is now. It wasn't until my second escape, after he saw my conversation with that Omega, that Forrest completely changed. At the time, I was fake and vain, a little carried away talking to that sweet Omega. Suddenly, Forrest was harsh with me, and I couldn't bear it. My stubborn streak flared. I was just a bad kid, didn't love Forrest that much, but I craved everything he'd given me. Material things, care, tenderness, and his unwavering favoritism. But I knew that favoritism was cheap. Once he got bored, I'd be worth less than trash. After 2 more escape attempts, being caught each time was worse. Forrest had transformed completely, stern, merciless, no longer the soft, patient side I knew. I knew I had exhausted all his tolerance, but I didn't regret it. I secretly felt proud. See, I told him we'd never last. He didn't believe me then. I woke from a sleep full of dreams, overwhelmed by the lingering smell of alcohol and Forrest's heavy alpha scent. I frowned, rubbing my eyes, only to realize I was being held. I slapped out instinctively, "Get off! Gross!" Normally, I wouldn't even be able to detect alpha or omega pheromones, not unless Forrest injected me with the pheromone inducer. But now, it smelled strange. I could sense his pheromones, and another omegas too. Not much, but enough to make me feel disgusted. I struggled violently, slapping him repeatedly. "Get off! You're disgusting!" My face turned red with anger, my body thrashing, heart racing painfully. Forrest was startled. Gavin, don't call me, don't say my name." I rolled away, scrambled to my feet, running without shoes. Thankfully, the carpets were thick. He hadn't expected me to react so strongly and rushed to grab me. It's okay. What's wrong? Nightmare?" I shoved him away, eyes bloodshot. "I don't like alphas. I hate alphas." His expression darkened. "Gavin." Forrest had brought back omega pheromones before, but I was just a beta. I wouldn't even notice another pheromone unless something was extreme. Tears ran down my face as I fled the bedroom and buried myself in the next room's blankets. I felt uneasy, but it would pass. After being harsh, I always regretted it. Who was I to be mad at Forrest? It wasn't abnormal for him to be with omegas in the future. I had no money, wasn't a wealthy omega heir, had no education. Why would he care about me? If not for my stubbornness, he'd have grown bored already. "Gavin, what's wrong?" Forrest came in and sat on the bed, asking. I pulled the blankets over myself and muttered, "Let me go." Here it came again. His breathing deepened, gaze darkening. He lifted my chin and wiped my tears. "Gavin, why are you still like this? I've forgiven your lies. You know, for you, for him, giving up the arranged marriage his parents had set, nearly risking his life, all for a beta." He faltered. "You never speak, always making me guess. Can't you just say something?" I snapped in anger, shouting, "I already told you, you're gross. You didn't listen. Overwhelmed with indignation, my mind went blank, and I momentarily lost awareness. That sleep lasted until night. When I woke, I felt calmer, and a bit hungry. I saw Forrest sitting by the bed. I sniffed and noticed there was no weird lingering scent this time. His eyes lit up when he saw me awake, and he touched my face. "I'm sorry." I flinched, turning my face away. "No touching." As I tried to turn, he held me down. "Don't move. You're still receiving 4 nutrition." I looked at my hand. What happened to me? His gaze softened yet remained serious. "Nothing major. The doctor said you've been too tired lately, you need proper rest." I blinked, confused. So that's why I dared to be mad at you. So that's what's been wrong." He stroked my cheek gently. "Baby, I won't be harsh with you anymore." I frowned. "Why not?" He said nothing further, letting someone bring in food to feed me. Leaning against the headboard, I teased, "All right then, so if you scold me again, can you give me 100,000? Forrest, okay. Something felt off, though I couldn't pinpoint what. A few days later, I began feeling nauseous, losing weight while my belly swelled. Everyone in the villa treated me carefully, and Forrest hadn't touched me for days. I immediately guessed what had happened. Forrest admitted the truth. The scent I smelled on him. That explained it. Me, a beta, pregnant? Really? My eyes went wide in disbelief. Seeing my dumbfounded expression, Forrest's heart sank. Couldn't accept it, but the next second, my face lit up. Hee, we're having a baby. The extra intensity in bed had taken a toll. I wasn't sure I could handle more for a while. At least now, he couldn't touch me for months. Even though I'd clawed my way up from nothing, Forrest wasn't like me. A rich heir, his future money would go to our child. Even if he got revenge later, he'd still have to pay for the child. I straightened my back immediately. Now was my time to wield a little power. Seeing my expression lighten, Forrest finally relaxed and grabbed my hand. "You don't mind?" he asked. I thought for a moment. "I don't mind, but can we make an agreement? If you get married later, the child stays with me." He already had so much, no need to compete for what should be mine. Forrest frowned, thinking it over, then said, "Okay." Honestly, he didn't understand. It made little difference. The child was ours anyway. But seeing him agree so decisively, I couldn't help but glare at him and feel annoyed again. "Hey, you just agreed. Why are you upset again?" "Gavin, tell me what you want properly." "I can't guess," Forrest asked. I snapped, "I already told you. I just hate you." This time, Forrest didn't say a word. He tolerated a lot from me now and didn't scold me anymore. I knew it had everything to do with the baby. Sigh. Fine. Things were okay now. He even let me go out alone, probably because the doctor said staying cooped up all the time wasn't good. Forrest was busy, he was a big boss, after all. Sometimes I'd wander down to his company and have afternoon tea at the dessert shop on the ground floor. Of course, I used his card. I even added the shop manager as a friend. Seeing me idle every day, he asked if I wanted to work part-time. My eyes lit up. I nodded eagerly. So, I started working at the dessert shop. Any unsold items at night were ours to take home. I couldn't eat too much myself, so I shared with the villa's staff. By the end of the first month, I had earned 6,000 star coins. Forrest knew I was working downstairs at his company. He tacitly approved, even sending me to and from work. The manager patiently taught me new skills. Being spoiled by Forrest for years had made me a little soft, but starting work again gave me a sense of confidence. I wasn't limited to the little world Forrest had given me. At night, I was counting money. I hadn't realized how much I'd spent of his. If I earned 6,000 a month, I'd have to work my whole life without eating or sleeping to repay him. Sigh. Big brother, put some pheromones on me. I want to smell them, I muttered. Pressure was high. I needed alpha pheromones to relax. I was a little irritated, set my phone aside, and tossed and turned. Then I saw Forrest typing on his tablet and complained irritably, late at night, if you're busy, go. Annoying. He put the tablet down, lay back, turned off the lights, and pulled me into his arms. Stroking my belly, he asked softly, what's wrong? I frowned. Nothing, just in a bad mood. Don't talk to me, I'm annoyed. I was a little lost. The year I was full of ambition, I met Forrest, approached him with a purpose, deceived his feelings, took shortcuts, and was spoiled by him. We messed around for years. I wasn't good at enduring hardship. The first time Forrest caught me, he wasn't too harsh. The second time, when he realized I had deceived him and didn't actually love him, he became a completely different person. During that period, I was lost, like a toy controlled by desire. Forrest's pheromones were my biggest sedative. Later, I learned to behave, to soothe him, to stop being stubborn. Life got better. Looking back, my previous mindset, believing that Forrest would love and spoil me unconditionally no matter what I said or did, was foolish. Who can love unconditionally? When I chased Forrest, wasn't it precisely because I pursued him relentlessly that he gave me a chance? People always expect something in return, just like I wanted his looks, his money. Gavin. He cupped my face, turning me to him. Under the night sky, I met his deep eyes and let him kiss me. As a beta, without my own pheromones to calm the baby, I relied entirely on an alpha. So abstaining wasn't possible. Soon, I couldn't resist myself. Forrest, however, remained in complete control. Now, whenever Forrest went out for business, he sprayed himself with inhibitors before returning home to mask the mess of pheromones. No matter how careful he was, he would inevitably pick up scents from others. Naturally, Gavin, got jealous. Forrest would tell his assistant about my little fits, and the assistant could only say, that's just because the young master likes you. Sure enough, after hearing that, Forrest's expression softened. He even asked, slightly dazed, really? Of course. When Forrest returned home one day, a handsome young man immediately emerged from the living room. He wore an oversized hoodie, revealing soft curves, and looked impatient. Why are you just back? I've been waiting to eat with you, I'm starving. Forrest's gaze softened instantly. He handed his coat to the servant. I'll wash my hands first. Wait for me, okay, baby. I scowled. I won't wait for you next time. So annoying. Okay, I'll come back earlier next time. Sorry. Forrest went to wash his hands and face. I sat at the table, annoyed that I had to wait for someone, my own doing, and still getting upset. After dinner, I went to my study to study. I quit the dessert shop, focusing solely on learning. I even started a social media account. Now, I no longer worried about being left homeless or directionless if Forrest ever left. I had calmly accepted that one day we'd part ways. My temper had improved. I no longer fought with him impulsively, trying to act indifferent while secretly caring. Forrest's temper had improved too. He said sorry and called me baby. I was a little pretentious, but seeing him like this, showing him a little goodwill wasn't too hard. Eventually, I moved out. Forrest hadn't slept all night but agreed. The apartment was found by him, but I paid for it myself. Not that I didn't want his help, it was just that I felt his care for me was more a sense of responsibility. He had done bad things, and I wasn't perfect either. That night, Forrest had been drunk and showed up at my new place. I was awake, but not surprised. I helped him wash up and get to bed. Baby, don't you love me anymore? Forrest asked, eyes red, holding my hand painfully. Looking at him in distress, I realized, All my fussing was really just to find proof he loved me. I asked, and you? I have nothing, just a beta, bad temper, no skills. Forrest pulled me into his arms, pressing my head against his chest. Gavin, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I love you. He knew I lacked security and was sensitive. After being deceived, he restrained himself but still got furious at my words. He always knew I wasn't some wealthy Omega heir. He just felt for me, wanted to double his care. The only thing he couldn't accept was that I didn't love him. Our relationship had started as a prank. Yet every time he regretted it, he couldn't resist exploding, wanting me to beg. Immature. I grabbed my shirt. Okay, I forgive you. I tended to magnify small things, like how he rarely hurt me, even in anger. And I minimized big things, like the time I blurted out breaking up, and he said okay. We were both stunned. He wiped my tears and said, shall we make up now? Not even a month after moving out, I moved back in. Because Forrest confessed to me, proposed, and even met my parents. Even though Forrest's family wasn't thrilled about him marrying a powerless, backgroundless little beta like me, they didn't object. But I didn't want to go to his house anymore. After Grant was born, though, they often came over to my place to see their grandson. My parents came too, but didn't stay long. I had a big family, I was the eldest. My mom was on her 5th child now, hoping for an alpha. They probably thought I had risen from a hill chicken to a phoenix, and were generous with money. But my temper wasn't great. They were afraid of me, cared for me, but weren't very responsible. I didn't get upset about those little things anymore, I was too busy earning money. Forrest, however, wasn't too pleased. Wife, time to sleep. I was editing a video. You go ahead and sleep first. Forrest. I turned to look at him, his face full of desire, and sighed. I went to wash my hands and came back. I collapsed onto him. Our clothes weren't even off before someone knocked so hard the door shook. Daddy, Daddy, I'm here. It was Grant. Forrest's face went pale. I laughed. The next day, little Grant, the perfect round bundle, was sent to the old family home. That night, lying in Forrest's arms, I said, Forrest, I'm not mad at you. He smiled, stroking my hot, delicate cheek. Then I'll try to do even better. I immediately said, me too. I want to be like you, improving together, in thought, in work, in knowledge. Forrest, for some reason, felt a lump in his throat. Gavin, you've always been the best. When he first met me, my bright eyes and smile as a young boy had smashed into Forrest's heart and stayed there.